Indiana on the hardwood last Friday night up in Madison, Wisconsin, a place where they have not had luck since Moby Dick was a minnow, as the one Bob Knight would say. And they haven't won there since Bob Knight won there. And so that tells you how long that has been. But
25 years.
Has 25 years. I mean, a quarter of a century. And that's mind-boggling. Indiana still leads this series by like 17 or 18 games, but it's still mind-boggling that this period can happen. It's just not, it's not fathomable in my brain.
Well, I think here's the thing. And if you think about it being not fathomable for Indiana fans like yourself, think about what Wisconsin felt like when Bob Knight was the coach at Indiana. And
they couldn't beat him.
The Hoosiers won 48 and lost 6 in the Bob Knight era to Wisconsin. Now 48-6. Right now it is what? I think Indiana's got 10 wins against Wisconsin since 2000, since Knight was let go. They've got 10 wins against Wisconsin and 32 defeats. So it kind of tells you the worm has turned, so to speak, although not as dramatically as when Coach Knight was here.
Wow, that number really puts it in perspective. I knew that he didn't lose to him, and he had beaten him like 31 straight times, but 48-6 is, whoo, that puts it in perspective. Man, and Indiana's season is really coming into perspective for even for those that are the most ardent of fans. They have to understand that Indiana is in the midst of a really bad position, and it doesn't look to get better as they have to go on the road now to play an Illinois team that has played well with or without Terrence Shannon Jr., right. But now they're going to have him back.
Well, he played in the ball game, I think, over the weekend, and I think he came off the bench, but he'll be back in the starting lineup by the time we play him, I'm sure. And they're playing really well. That kid, the Harmon kid, played terrific for them this past week. It's going to be an incredibly difficult challenge for Indiana. But the good news is Indiana does have an 8 days between ball games. They've got a chance to start working on this team. And I think probably the most important factor to work on at this juncture is the mindset of this ball club. They have got to find a way to get back to feeling good about themselves. That doesn't happen without wins, of course, but at least they've got time to sit there, look in the mirror, reflect a little bit on what's been happening, and try to pull this thing together. And hopefully they've got a couple of guys leadership-wise in this team that can help that happen. I know the coaching staff is pulling their hair out right now, trying to figure out what to do with this ball club in the sense of how do we get these guys to play harder? How do we get these guys to play better? And how do we get these guys to keep from making silly mistakes?
Yeah, and I don't know because I'm not in practice. I don't spend the time directly with these guys as the coaching staff does. Is it where that disconnect lies? Is it the individuals that just don't have that? We've talked on here, and you've mentioned guys that were gym rats that just almost don't exist anymore, and that's not something you can coach. You either are that or you're not. You either are like a sponge and want to do those things or don't. And I don't know that exists. And there's a lot of pulls on these guys now with their social media and this and that and the other thing. It's just not the same players it used to be for the most part.
Well, that part of it's true, but everybody else has got players too, and those guys figure it out. And this is a ball club that hasn't figured it out yet, and that's, to me, that's a leadership issue within your team. It's not the coaching staff. Players have to want to do the right things. They have to want to be better. They have to want to work. They have to be motivated to get the job done and to get to practice and to bust their tail and to figure out what's wrong when things are going astray. And right now we're going to find out if this team has that kind of mindset. And I think this is a great opportunity to figure that out and to find out the guys that really want to help this ball club. and the guys that don't, if that's in fact the case, because this team looks like they're discombobulated, or they're not playing. I don't want to say that they're selfish. I don't see that. I don't see a selfishness on this team, like a guy's just playing for himself. But there's something missing. There's something missing with this ball club. I don't know what it is, and I know that Mike Woodson and his staff are trying to figure it out. But at this juncture, I think it's on the players. I think the players have to figure this thing out and decide to once again coalesce, get together, and become the kind of team that they're capable of being, because they have enough talent to be good. They have enough talent. They're not going to win every ball game. Nobody does anymore. But they have enough talent to compete if they want to compete. And right now, I don't know if that's the case.
Yeah, I'm fortunate to get to talk to a lot of guys. Obviously, I didn't play at this level. I wasn't there, but I talked to, whether it's Todd Leary or Brian Evans or whomever, and they talked about it didn't matter. The entire team was holding each other accountable. I mean, if it could be one guy in this minute, and the next minute it's somebody else holding him accountable, but there just doesn't seem that team-wide accountability.
Well, and again, this is on the players. It truly is on the players. Their mindset is the key to this ball club turning things around. If it's the right mindset, they'll get it turned around. They'll start competing. They'll start winning a ball game or two that they probably shouldn't be expected to win. Because you can do that when you've got the right mindset, when you believe in your team and you believe in your teammates. Because right now, I don't think that these guys don't like each other. I don't see that. I watch them on the airplane when we're flying, when we go to ball games and that kind of stuff. There's great interaction with these young men. But right now it's not happening on the floor. That's where it's got to happen. And I know Mike Woodson and his staff are frantically trying to get this thing turned around, to get these guys to understand that. And that's why I do think that this 8 days between ball games gives them an opportunity to kind of get some of this thing straightened out.
And I don't know what the mindset of a player is, but I'm wondering if they feel like there are going to be consequences of actions. We've seen what has happened with whether it's been Xavier or Mackenzie Mbako, and now here of late it was CJ getting booted from a game from not something, and I told Todd in the postgame show, I go, 10, 15 years ago, that doesn't even get called. That's just a nothing thing, but that's not 10, 15 years ago. It's today where, for one thing, there's 800 cameras watching a game. Yeah. You're getting away with absolutely nothing. And, they've got every rule with, above the shoulder and this and that and everything. You just can't do it. And I don't understand the inability to know that there are just certain things you just can't do and they do them anyway.
Right. I think, and concerning that situation, and I know I get a headline of the paper about my statement, and I probably should have, said it differently, because look, you can't do what Xavier Johnson did in the Rutgers game. What you did in the game against Wisconsin as CJ Gunn, he got baited. And yes. Look, you know what, CJ, you can't do that. That's an emotional thing, or that's responding to something somebody does, and you're going to get caught, and you did it right in front of Wisconsin's bench. I mean, that's just silly on your part. But so these guys have to understand they're not going to get away with that kind of stuff. It's just not going to happen. And if it does happen and they try to do it again, they'll get caught the second time. So you got to be smart. And you just got to use your head in these situations. And maybe the other guy did something to you, but it's always the guy that reacts to it that gets caught. Understand that, have that in your mentality to do. So hopefully, I'm sure these guys have learned from that, but at the same time, now it's a little bit too late. And you've had 2 situations like that occur within the last 2 weeks. That just can't happen. And Indiana has rarely ever, I think there's only been one other player at Indiana that's ever been kicked out of a game. And that happened in the first year Tom Crean was here, or the second year. I can't remember which. I don't want to bring up the young man's name because that's not to be done now. But There's only one other player that's ever been kicked out of a ball game prior to this season in my 50 plus years of being at Indiana. And my frustration at that level led me to my comment, which got viral attention all up and down social media. That's another reason I'm not on social media.
I'm just getting ready to say, you're a smart man.
Well, I'm not smart when I say something on the air, just as stupid as being on social media. So,
you know what? That's just something for people to grab, is all it is. As a matter of fact, it's not something that I think that I mentioned, or and I did not retweet that. And I think a lot of people in the media didn't. It's just certain people look for things to jump on, and that's one of them.
Right. Well, people were trying to take it that I was saying this about the whole team. Right. I was embarrassed for our whole team. I was embarrassed for our team that these guys did that. I didn't explain it that way. And now, of course, it goes viral and it looks like I'm disparaging the team and the program and everything else. And that's not the case.
Oh, trust me. When I got to ask my question at Kurt Cignetti's opening football or press conference, I was asking him about dealing with NIL, and I did not differentiate dealing with NIL at the Big Ten level against Ohio State and Michigan versus being at James Madison. And he took that as an opportunity to boom, get a Cignetti stamp on that one. So I know exactly what you mean. It's easy for that to happen, but it also shows that these guys are not. I'm like, where's your head, man? You just can't do certain things in a damn game, and if you are, then where is your head? Where is your mental mindset right now?
Right, and you know, from a coaching perspective. Woody has to figure out, what do I do about this, and to the best of his ability. And he's got so many things on his plate in regard to these players right now, and trying to get this thing turned around. That, you know, it's such a. I mean, that's why you get paid the big bucks, I guess, because you're getting millions of dollars to coach basketball. And that's your responsibility. But sometimes you're dealing with 19, 20, 21-year-old, 22-year-old guys that just make mistakes, like all college athletes and college players and college students do. And it's a struggle, to say the least. And your hands as a coach at the college level are in the palms of players who can do something really stupid, and then you're in trouble. And it's because you're dealing with that youth and that immaturity.
And that all leads to what is going on the court right now with this Indiana team. Sure. And it's not, and admittedly, it's not good. And it doesn't look to get a whole lot better as the season goes on. And that means missing the NCAA tournament. And that obviously fans are not happy. They're going crazy on social media. We talk about it. We have to. It's a topic that can't be ignored. Right. But that's where we are right now. And that's not a good place for Indiana basketball either. They really shouldn't be in this position, but they are.
No question. And that's why I think, again, this week is special in the sense of giving Indiana an opportunity to maybe take a deep breath, take a look in the mirror, figure this thing out, figure out what you want to do, and work on the things that you think you have to change to make this basketball team successful as the season progresses.